Coming in at number 20 on our Locked On Senators NHL draft rankings from the Erie Otters, who is now taking his talents to the NCAA with Michigan, it is forward Malcolm Spence.
This is a fun prospect to cover, Ross, in his third straight season in the OHL, and he's been there for a while, and I think he's ready to take on a new challenge. He has 177 points in 195 OHL games. He capped off his OHL finale in 65 games, 32 goals, 41 assists, good for 73 points. Was also a point per game guy in the playoffs, 9 points in 9 playoff games. So I think Malcolm Spence looked at this, and players these days, they have the opportunity to go change from the CHL, from Canadian juniors, to go play college, something that they haven't had the opportunity to do for before. And I feel like, Ross, Malcolm Spence was kind of one of the first big names to do it. Like Bob McKenzie tweeted it, and it was like, wow, it's crazy that this is a real thing now. And I think it's the right move for Malcolm Spence. And I think obviously going to a good school like Michigan will help. But I'm so fascinated to see how these kids do that have multiple seasons of OHL experience and then shifting over to the college game. There's so many differences.
It's going to be really fascinating to see. Malcolm Spence came in at the combine just a hair under 6'1". Don't worry, Malcolm. We gave it to you. He even asked the guys to re-measure.
I love that.
And was still just a little under 6'1". 190 pounds, one of the earliest birthdays in this class, which means he turned 18 before this past OHL season. He's a left shot winger. Craig Button, super high on him, 15th overall. Bob McKenzie's midterms had him at 16. Elite prospects at 21. Scott Wheeler at 22. McKean's we have at 23, but in their most recent rankings, they actually dropped him out of their top 32. Interesting. Locked On NHL prospects at 24 and Corey Pronman at 26. This guy, to me, is an easily projectable NHL player. I think that we often talk with draft prospects about high risk, high reward. To me, there's low risk and there's a moderate to high reward.
I would agree. I think this is a pretty safe pick, which sometimes saying it's a safe pick means there's not a lot of potential. That don't get it twisted. That's not what I'm suggesting with Malcolm Spence. This guy's got great work ethic. EP talks about how he wins puck battles and gives full effort. Wheeler says he can play center or the wing. He gets some versatility there. He plays a full 200 feet game and is consistent. In the highlights I watched, Ross, this kid's got some swagger to him. 2 or 3 goals. After he scores, he goes right to the glass and gives it to fans. There's one, I forget what team they were playing, but he goes to the glass and is giving it to the fans. And it's like a 9-year-old kid, and the kid's just going like this. And Spence is like, oh, yeah, you don't like that? All right. So he is going to have an absolute blast in NCAA hockey where there's no neutral fans. You're just whatever arena or college you're at, they go nuts for that school and they hate everyone else. So that's going to be hilarious. I can't wait to see if he gets the opportunity to play against Nodak. The fans there are wild, so that's fun. But back to his hockey skills, silky smooth hands. He can dipsy doodle through defenders. He's an offensive threat on the penalty kill. He was actually tied for 3rd in the OHL in shorthanded goals with 5. So this is a guy, great 5-on-5, 200-foot game. Put him on the power play. He's got a good shot, good playmaking abilities, and put him on the penalty kill. He's hungry to make teams pay even when they're down a man.
I love when Cam Robinson refers to him as a player with disruptive energy, just always like a water bug out there. And I actually love the elite prospects. Shades of current NHL player comparable is Jake Neighbours, who really seems to have figured it out with the St. Louis Blues. Big, but not always the most physical. I think if he wants to really impact an NHL system as a top 6 forward, I think adding an element of ferocity to his game, like he's strong for sure, but I think that he could be even more of an impact player there. His tracking was elite for his boards to the middle of the ice plays. So he's able to kind of open up the ice and create space for his teammates and get them in high scoring positions. To me, he's not going to be a line driver, but could be a great complementary piece to any middle six once he hits his prime.
Yeah, agreed. And EP kind of mentions that, saying they feel at best he can be the sixth guy in a top six, really supporting two star players on a line. And I agree with that. And one thing that's interesting, Ross, and we're hearing a lot of scouts and people we talk to mention this, when kids make the switch from the OHL or any CHL team to NCAA, the first kind of thing they mention is this kid's going to put a lot more work in the gym, right? Because in juniors, you're traveling, you're playing multiple times a week, you're going to school, you got all this stuff. I mean, you're still going to school in school at college, but you're pretty much only playing on going to school. You're pretty much only playing on the weekends. So during the week, you're studying, you're eating right, you've got all access to the top-notch facilities that these programs have, and you're putting a lot more time in the gym than you would in the OHL. So I think that could really help a guy that has the effort and motor like Malcolm Spence to bulk up a little. Not that he's small, but just adding any strength for these prospects can go a long way.
Where do you see him in terms of a draft pick in this draft? Because the range is pretty wide compared to some other guys we've done recently, like all the way from 15 to 26. Like, do you think he's a guy that falls a little bit because there's not that dynamic ability that some of the other kids have? Or do you think the high floor is going to help Malcolm Spence be a top 15 to 18 pick?
The 15 to 25 range is going to be interesting. I think the first 15 picks, it's going to be all the people everyone expects, maybe in different orders and different teams going different directions, but it's going to be the same crop of guys. Whereas once you get into this range, there's going to be risers and fallers. Realistically, Ross, I think I would put Spence's range at 18 to 22. Like, I think if you pick him in the high teens, maybe that's a reach and you're leaving high potential on the table. But if he falls past the 20s, I think teams are going to be excited to scoop him up. And one of those teams, I hope, is excited to scoop him up if he falls into the 20s, Ross, is the team with the 21st pick, your Ottawa Senators. I'm giving Malcolm Spence a 4.5 stars. I would be very happy if the Ottawa Senators chose to draft him.
And he comes in on our Locked On Senators NHL draft rankings with an average of 21 at 20th overall. For all of our draft profiles, you can check us out on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.